I'm a South African, a patriot, someone who loves this country dearly. I was born very lucky, and I've had many opportunities in life that most people haven't had. But my passion now in this part of my life is for my country and to do as much as I can for the best of all the people in this country and South Africa.
Now, in your capacity as a businessman, you've been trying to pursue, or you're looking to pursue, buying a number of regional airports that would be basically having a part of the pie of AXA. And we understand, because we haven't spoken to you firsthand before, we understand that there was a conversation with the Transport Minister, Fikile Mbalula, but your approach was rejected. And then we also learned that you were looking to approach the Minister of Public Enterprises, Pravin Gordhan. Where are you in your engagements with government so far on that issue?
So Nick Ferguson and I bought a airport called Santakral outside of Cape Town, renamed it Cape Winelands Airport, and we've got very big plans, development plans for that airport. Cape Town's one of the few big cities in the world that doesn't have a second airport and is surrounded mostly by ocean. So planes that fly down to Cape Town, if there's mist or fog, have to divert to George in PE or Bloemfontein if they're local flights, or all the way to Durban or Johannesburg if they're international flights, and have to carry a lot of fuel. So we've got to understand aviation, and in my past I've lost a lot of money and made a lot of money in aviation. So I know the aviation side, and Nick really knows the real estate development side. And the more we've got to learn about aviation, the more we like it from an airport standpoint. And we've had very good discussions with the PIC. We had very early and good discussions with Fikile and Mbalula. To his credit, I was quite rude about him in my first speech, and he picked up the phone and said, "I believe you've got grievances, let's meet." So shout out to him. But we had very good discussions with him, and then in the process got to know AXA. And in looking at AXA, we realized that there's no way we could bid for the Johannesburg, Durban and Cape Town airports. They are national airports. But the regional airports, the 6 regional airports like George and PE and Uppington, are underinvested, unloved and underutilized, and we think there's a real opportunity to improve them, put a lot of money in, invest and improve them, because we really see airports more than just airports, but aero and logistics hubs.
So in practice, if you were to get over that hurdle with government, with the regulators and so on, how would you transform those airports? And just to speak to your vision about them being beyond just airports, what would they look like?
So what we want to do is connect to airports, road, rail, and also to what are they called? And also to the ports. Sorry. So we want to connect road, rail, and air with the ports. Create, dry ports at the airports, and make them important hubs for the logistics sector in South Africa. I didn't quite answer your first question, I apologize, but we got to a point where we'd done our analysis of the 6 regional airports and realized that we can improve them. We're prepared to invest in them. And the process of, we didn't know who to speak to. The process of going through various ministries could take the next 100 years, especially in the state the ANC is in right now. So we just decided to announce it publicly, to put it out there. And we got rejected immediately, okay? And it was quite funny because we were told that we were being rejected because they are strategic assets. And I accept the fact that Johannesburg, Durban, Cape Town airports may be strategic assets, but how can PE, George and Uppington be strategic assets? And my real answer to government is the following: if they are strategic assets, then they should sell them to us or someone else as quickly as possible, because the current ANC government has broken all the other strategic assets like Transnet and Eskom. So that was my cheeky response. But we're in discussion, we're moving forward, and a no is not a no. It's a meet us and talk.
So, of course, recently you were speaking at a BizNews conference, and you had a lot to say. And you went in rather hard on the current administration, singling out the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, and just basically saying that the country's run by incompetence and even you described some cabinet members as criminals. What informed you to speak so harshly of these people who are running the country?
So I think we've run out of time for niceties. You know, the economy's in a nosedive. When I was driving here across Santon from my parents' house, 90% of the robots, the traffic lights, weren't working. We have load shedding half the day. Our economy is collapsing. You know, flying in this country is hugely expensive now. So people who used to be able to fly are struggling to afford to fly. You can't get electricity. So children, when the sun goes down, can't study. The wheels are coming off this country. The economy is falling apart. And we don't have time for niceties. And all these big businesses that are having these private meetings with Cyril and private meetings with the cabinet, and they agree to get things going, it's not working. We have to tell the truth, and we have to tell it hard. And we have to tell the cabinet and the voting population that this isn't working. This ANC government is breaking our country. We must vote them out. And I'm sorry, but I can't say that in a nice way. I have to tell the truth.
So the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Gwede Mantashe, he described your comments as mischievous, and he also says it's just sour grapes on your part because the initial response you got in terms of you acquiring these regional airports was a no. He also alleges that you were sniffing around an oil block asset in South Sudan that was reserved for the South African government. Your response?
So the Sudan thing is complete madness, okay? I don't know what file they found that in. But I was in Ethiopia for a conference on governance in Africa. And a friend of mine said, while we're here, now that South Sudan's gone, independent, it's just across the border, let's go and have a look. So we hopped on a plane and flew there. It was quite fascinating, actually, looking out of the window, and you see, it's almost like a fence line of developed or semi-developed Ethiopia, and then completely wild forest and jungle and bush of South Sudan. I mean, you almost see the line in the sand. So we get to, we fly in there, and we met, we stayed one night, and we met 20, 30 people. But I've had no interest whatsoever in a block. I don't know where that came from. So that's, our secret services obviously are bad information. They're not doing a good job, but we know that.
And your comments being mischievous?
I think it's a lovely expression. I mean, I must say, I admire Gwede for using that word. I like that word. And it was mischievous. He's right, absolutely right. And again, to his credit, I was in Stockholm 2 weeks ago, and he picked up the phone and called me and said, look, I'm not useless. I know mining. I learned some mining at Angloval, and let's meet. And I said, well, let's meet. So we will meet at some point, and I believe he's charming and a decent person. But how can you be a communist in this day and age? Communism doesn't work. It's for stupid people. So I told Gwede that, and he got a bit grumpy with me. So I am being mischievous.
I'm sure some of our viewers will be very offended who have communist inclinations.
Well, they're idiots if they're communist inclinations. I'm sorry. There's not a communist country that works. How can you be a communist in this day and age? And there's a woman on the board of Standard Bank, Mrs. Geraldine Fraser-Moleketi, Communist Party. I mean, on the board of Standard Bank. Ridiculous. Someone should give her the boot.